Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to take your seats as quickly as possible and we're ready to begin. Thank you. Welcome back everyone. It's lovely to see you here. I'll just wait for the last couple of people to find their seats. Oh, we now have the evening sun, late afternoon sun coming through here as well to illuminate us all. Good to see you. I trust you enjoyed all the breakouts. The great thing about breakouts is when you can really deep dive into specific areas, and I know a lot of people have taken a lot of time to work out exactly what they want to find out more about. So a lot more breakouts tomorrow, but I know the 3 today were very packed. Right, I think that's all of us. Brilliant. So what we are going to do for these next couple of sessions is, first of all, we're going to have a quick recap of what was talked about in the breakouts. So for those of you who were not able to go to maybe your second choice, we will hear what was discussed, and then we're going to take the mission Soil on an international footing and see what's being done in that context as well. So first of all, let's bring up 3 people who can do a bit of a recap from the breakouts. So if I could welcome on stage, please, Leonard Meyer, Julia Maloney, and Ulrich Schmaltz, if you'd like to come and join us. Thank you very much. Yep, Ulrich, yep. Come and take a seat if you sit there, and we'll have Julia in the middle. I'll come and sit on this one if that's all right. Lovely, thank you. Fantastic. So, Leo, you were Soil Health for Climate, yeah? Fantastic. Who here was in Soil Health for Climate? Let's see. Brilliant. So you had a nice number of people. Tell us what you discussed. I know that's a very, very wide question, but give us an idea of where your conversations went.
Thank you. Yeah, so this was, as you said, Sasha, very rightly, a deep dive, but it was also a long distance swim, if there's such a thing.
Yeah.
In the sense that we covered a lot of ground. This session was organized jointly by the Mission Secretariat in DG AGRI and by the EGP Soil program. So thanks to Claire Chenu and Anna Besse for moderating. We tackled this question of soil health for climate under the perspective of synergies and trade-offs between, on the one hand, carbon sequestration in soils, and on the other hand, other greenhouse gases, but also other ecosystem services that we need the soils for. And I think this proved to be a useful framing, even though some also contested it, but it certainly got us going on a wide range of different topics. In terms of synergies, we talked about, of course, the productivity of the soil as the most obvious other thing that we need soils for. But we also talked about soil biodiversity, which can go along with many of the things that are good for the climate. We also addressed some of the difficulties around quantification, around comparing across different settings. And similarly for the trade-offs, it came out, I think, quite clearly that there can be trade-offs in terms of what we achieve for the climate and on other fronts, but there are also ways of minimizing the trade-offs, which again are different for each context. We talked about trade-offs against the background of one particular EGP soil project, not only, let's say, from an economic perspective, but also from a more policy-making perspective. So the properties of some schemes for carbon farming, more specifically, that make them attractive from a scientific point of view, they are not necessarily the same that make those schemes attractive for farmers. because they might make them more complex. We had this perspective then complemented by a presentation from ongoing work in Ireland led by the Climate Kick, about which Saskia Fischer spoke, which is very much ongoing and where they're moving quite quickly towards testing certain carbon farming schemes already next year. And then we moved on to a panel discussion where we also brought in the policymakers represented by DG Klima, Christian Holzleitner specifically, and also the Science for Policy with our Joint Research Center. Then in terms of what are the expectations on the mission, because I think this is what we're supposed to zoom in on. And we asked this question quite directly also to the audience, getting a very long list of, I think, 40, 50 different items, but some of them stand out more than others. What was mentioned repeatedly is the need to really work very closely with farmers and other practitioners, I would add, on the ground. There's also, and I think this just shows how high and wide-ranging the expectations are. We were also reminded that there's ongoing policy work which needs input from the mission quickly, so we don't have time to lose, while of course we are still building this up from the ground. There are expectations also around funding, which, as Kirsten explained, we are working on, but may not be able to deliver very quickly. And social sciences, I think this is also a theme that we are hearing which we're hearing more and more often, that not that this would be neglected, but probably even more of the social science dimension is needed in this context.
Yeah. Really interesting list. So if you were in that room, it sounds like you actually had a really great conversation. What, 50 suggestions of what the mission could do? But that was quite a lot of typing, quite a lot of ideas. But that theme, which actually we've had right from the beginning of today, the need to work closely with farmers. I mean, it's just so very, very crucial. And in fact, we can see Coletta has been already visualizing all of this, with some farmers may find some of the schemes hard and all those trade-offs that we're talking about. Leo, thank you very much. Thank you. Soil health for food. Julia, this was you. Who was with Julia? Soil health for food. It's a popular one. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. And actually, as Leo was talking about his, there was a lot of nodding from you, so I wonder whether there were some similar synergies there.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank the speakers for Alfred, I think he's still here, Sara, Anza, Antonio. So these are also part of our projects, but also Jose Manuel, Antonella from Prima, and Pandi, of course, one of our mission soil. He's there, yeah. Hi, Pandi. So really great discussions with great speakers, and the session really explored how the mission soil actually aims to improve soil health and nutritional quality and safety of the food we consume. But also the second part of the session, so we divided the session into two parts, and the second part really aimed at exploring how we can increase the valorization of food waste. So this was a bit our double aim. We know that soil, of course, provides a host of crucial services, tackling climate change, but also provides the food that we consume. So this is also one other key part. And as one of the speakers highlighted, there is no food security without healthy soils. So indeed, very crucial. I would like to say several points were highlighted. One was on synergies. And I think that food systems is fantastic in the sense that we really can adopt a more systemic approach through food systems. And the soil mission is perfect to that. So the soil mission, of course, can explore synergies with other kind of Horizon Europe instruments and tools, such as Horizon Europe, the Cluster 6, but not only. We've seen the partnerships, the food system partnerships, Prima, so we had a great speaker there on Prima on how to enhance those through food systems, but also at national, local level. So we need, of course, the support and Jose Manuel was also very enthusiastic about that, so we're very happy to have also the support from a Spanish delegate. And then we tackle more thematic actions. So were really highlighted during the discussion because food systems are so broad. Yeah. So and they indeed they actually cover many things. So we discussed health and nutrition. We discussed environment and climate, of course. We discussed all the more critical parts and areas in Europe, such as the Mediterranean area, which requires also special attention. We discussed the social economic aspects, which I think are crucial there too. Like, for instance, what is the right price of food? Should we also add extra, encourage more sustainable practice, and how do we tackle that, and how is it reflected into our prices? And also on business models and bio-waste. So really enriching thematic actions. And of course, food systems are across different land uses. So we had discussions on agricultural soils and through the farmers as well, but also in the cities, so covering also rural areas. And finally, of course, food systems tackles an entire variety of actors. So starting from the farmers, going, of course, to food businesses and processors, retailers, and it ends on our plate and goes beyond that. So I would like to also end with Alfred's quote, which I really liked, of course. So we need to touch people's heart and mind, and I think that through the soil mission, the food systems, we can achieve that. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. What a great quote to end on, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, touching people's hearts and minds. I wrote it down, decide what the right price of food is. So important, particularly when you, as you said, you were talking about the whole value chain as well, with all the different stakeholders. And then we had farming practices for soil health. So farming practices, who was in that one? That was a large group, yes. I was sitting in the back listening to that one as well. Would you like to give us a bit of a recap? Because I know yes. There was a lot talked about, just the highlights.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so it was a very lively group, and we had a plenary of 4 experts, and one of them was a farmer, which was good. So we were definitely well distributed in that. And one of the first things which was said, that the soil mission is actually very good. Someone said that, and I think we all agree on that it is a good mission, and so it's good to say that once. Then we had presentations and also some voting at the end, maybe the others as well. So we're still analyzing some of these votes. But one of the things which came out for me and for us when we discussed it is to have soil health as a principle. So not just talking about soil health, but as a principle in farming practices. So then we look at the output of it. So how can any practice deliver to that principle of soil health? There can be different approaches, and that also then can be monitored. So we talked about soil testing again, and monitoring, how important that is. So we come to this. There was a bit of a discussion because one of the farms was a certified organic farm. What is the role of organic farming? And it's maybe interesting, as you know, we have at the moment 10% organic farms in the UK, in the EU, and not so many in the UK. It's a different thing. But it has been a legal farming practice since 30 years, since 1991. So that is interesting because it gives you some specific practices which are enshrined in law. And for that reason, it's also interesting to see if we continue with more soil practices to improve the soil. There may be a cost of this conversion. There may be yields which are lower. There may be an issue with knowledge and advisory as well. So getting more into soil health, having that principle, will come with some downsides or barriers which we have to overcome, and that includes education, knowledge, advisory. And then also very much mentioned by the farmer on the panel was the economic issue. So everything which we do needs to also be economically viable. And there was a big pledge to include economic research into EU-funded projects, so that also comes in. For me as an economist, in that I also would add, I did say that was my contribution, to add the true costs accounting of the pollution of the soil we have, because when that is included, it will benefit farming practices which are closer to soil health. So just to wrap it up, we discussed then several options like agroforestry, min tillage, which are good, no-till, but we also said they should all be content specific. They can't be a panacea for everything, and some of them have also downside. We talked a bit about alfalfa, cover cropping, but that could also have water competition. That was the issue with the farm in Germany. Then we mentioned the agroecology partnership, and also again the effect of scale. So in order to really make a big difference in Europe, we need to have scale, organic, maybe 20%, but that alone is never the solution. And in order to this, we need time. It needs to grow. And the partnership, the agroecology partnership, is a 10-year partnership, and that was seen as very good to have this long-term perspective. We also need that for trees. As you know, trees grow longer. And then as a final issue to work on, which came out from everyone, is our knowledge or lack of knowledge of the subsoil and the diversity in that. If we include more trees into farming, we need to know much more what goes on into the subsoil. So subsoil could be on trees up to 3 meters, 5 meters. A lot of things go on, and we have actually we have some clue, but very limited clue what goes on there in terms of the biomes. So that was one thing which we said we really need to do more research and funding. So to really also enhance the effects in terms of nutrient lifting, nutrient recovery, so that could be quite exciting. So that's a whole new world down there.
Yeah, indeed. And I have to say thank you for bringing out the necessity for data collection, because if you need to understand something, you need to quantify it, you need to have the right data, which was a big theme of that session. Thank you so much to the three of you for giving a recap. Are you all happy if people approach you during the breaks later or tomorrow to find out anything else that happened in your breakouts? Fantastic, lovely. Leo, Ulrike and Julia, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Superb, thank you. Now, what we are going to do now is take a little bit of an international flavour. So, we started with the research, we've looked at policy, we've looked at some of the stakeholders and what they're doing. There's been the breakouts. So now we're going to look at the mission's international dimension. Taking a look at it through the eyes of the project ORGSA, which you may well have seen as one of the projects outside. So I'd like to welcome the head of the International Priority Programme, Soil and Climate at INRAE, and the coordinator of the ORGSA project, your moderator for the next hour, Suzanne Reinders. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and representatives from the European Commission. I'm in charge of setting in place a soil carbon international research consortium. And, I must say I'm really impressed to be here in a plenary with you today, with very talented speakers. So before handing over to Kirsten Rosenow, I wanted to share with you the agenda of this 1 hour setting. So thank you very much. So as you see, Kirsten will introduce the session, then Jean-François will tell us a bit more about what's the roadmap since 2017, then I'll take part and present the interim governance of that soil carbon RSC and the services then that we are developing. So the floor is yours, Kirsten. Very happy to have you.
So hello, it's me again. But I promise tomorrow you will hear much more from other people. But we're getting slowly but surely a bit to the celebratory part of the day, which is a good thing, I guess, because we had so much content matter already, food for thought and discussions. So I was saying this morning already, so okay, we have talked a lot about EU soils, but soils obviously have also a global and an international dimension. And this is what we have been working on for quite a number of years. Trying to set up international cooperation, especially here in this case on soil carbon, and linking it to what we do. So we're here at a moment where we can at least partly say we're there in terms of the instrument, to be seen what we deliver. I think what is good that this moment is like I'm opening this from DG AGRI, and the closing is from my colleague Christian Holzleitner from DG Klima. So again, this is like good because it shows that we're in this together, and we're kind of listening to each other what is needed and what is best embedded in this given policy context, which I think is good. So for us, a little bit about the international dimension to set the scene in more general terms, and then coming to the International Research Consortium. Soil health, like I said, is also a global issue. So locally specific challenges are shared between countries and regions. So the lack of soil health in any place is an issue for global challenges and consequences. So we've seen that, especially greenhouse gas emissions and carbon sequestrations, we have talked about that already. And we also have a contribution to deliver to international commitments, not only to our EU ones, but the general ones. So talking about SDGs, which when you look at the soil mission board report of the recommendations has been really largely addressed there as well. We really have a specific objective that is dealing with reducing the EU global footprint on soils. So really recognizing also the impact of EU production and consumption elsewhere in the world, not just only looking narrowly but at ourselves. And also our colleagues from GRC are really working on the potential methodology and data sources and uncertainties for an EU soil footprint calculator. So exploiting and enlarging the potential for international R&I cooperation is really important for us. So we try to work on the global scene in very many areas. There's the Global Soil Partnership by the FAO. So we try to link with that as much as we can. Trying to put our EU matters also at hand there and see where we can learn. So traditionally, we always have some joint action, for instance, on World Soil Day, but also when there are UN, for instance, General Assemblies on science and the summits, we try to exchange. Then, of course, COP28 is coming up, which will be also key in the global discussions. And there we also try as much as we can to feature soil specifically through action together with many partners. We've seen a pre-glance of the Emirates Declaration on Sustainable Agriculture, and soil health will be in there, so for sure. So that also frames a lot our international action. Then you might have recognized once the US came back a bit more strongly on the climate scene again, so that action specifically was launched for climate. So there's an agricultural innovation mission for climate that was launched by the US and the Arab Emirates. We have quite a big commitment in terms. So you know the trend that the funding for public research in agriculture is that it goes down. So at EU level we have done the opposite. So actually we're going against this trend because we believe that the challenges are so great that if we don't heavily invest at this very moment, it's going to be critical. And we've talked a bit about cooperation with the private sector as well, but I mean, we've seen that we're not there yet. So we're pledging what we do, also partly under the Soil Mission in this forum, and we're also part of the Global Research Alliance on Agricultural Greenhouse Gases. So we featured there and what we do at the mission. So, and this is also, I mean, yeah, let's say it triggers global discussion on what we do there. So that is good. Then also generally the mission. So when we launch the projects, you know that we not only work with EU member states, but we also work with a lot of other countries that are either associated to Horizon, but also from all other parts of the world. And in specific parts, this is also specifically foreseen, for instance, that we have international cooperation that is promoted, and that is very welcome. Then to finish up for the international scene, so in terms of interregional cooperation, and specifically on soil, Africa is key. You will have seen that. So there it's also good that you will see that we are at a point where some of the things that we develop also in terms of data and monitoring and so on is going to be replicated by our African partners or even philanthropy that is part of action more than we do in this part of the world. So I think this is also good that we mutually inspire ourselves in what we do. It's already been mentioned this morning by the Secretary-General that there's a lot of work when we look at erosion, desertification and other issues around the Mediterranean basin, not limited to the EU only, of course, and also with the Latin and American and Caribbean countries we're working. So then I should not leave this part with mentioning some more key players. So for instance, Canada, they're leaders in agroecology and also living labs. So they're part of the most advanced countries in the world applying the living lab methodology to the agricultural content and context and providing funding for that as well. So we have frequent exchanges there. And with China and Japan as well, we work. They're also partly part of the International Research Consortium. So there also the mission idea is gaining roots, so that you really try to work from a societal challenge and not from a compartmentalized area and with a goal you want to achieve in a given research area. So that's a bit the international context in what we move. Now to really go a bit more to the matter here that we want to explore and celebrate in a sense for the setting up. So the case for constructing an international research consortium on soil carbon. So first of all, one of the key mission operational objectives is to promote and connect European soil carbon research internationally. So to involve a wide range of stakeholders, but also go beyond the scientific community. So that is a bit the theme of the day already. So, and I mean, we've seen that basically everybody does that nowadays, but it's maybe important on how to do that and how to concretely do that. And secondly, so conserve and increase soil organic carbon stocks. So increased reliability and lower costs and monitoring, reporting and verification. So through international cooperation and harmonization. So and larger scale testing also of MRV technologies. So we have examples. So Then you might ask yourself, why do you need an international research consortium? So we have successful experience in other areas, for instance, in the area of animal health and animal diseases, so African swine fever and so on. So we have international research cooperation, which resulted really to validated research roadmaps, but also regional and interregional workshops, and so issue-specific gap analysis and more. So, I mean, here really the case is for such consortium is broadening the RNI resource base beyond Horizon Europe through contributions from the IRC members and enhanced opportunities for division of labor, of course. So we do that at the EU already when we work together with all the member states, but even more so in an international context is really something also which helps specialize. So there are different specializations and reducing coordination costs. So, and one theme that also came back, so you know that on the typical RNI project, so we work together for 3 to 5 years, and then very often this is a more short to medium term time span, but what we need is really longer term cooperation and going a bit beyond that and really bringing the scientific cooperation and the stakeholder access to knowledge on a more long-term sustainable basis. So this is why this is really a good case. What we want to do, or what you want to do, looking at Suzanne, so we are going to be looking at what you are achieving with the partners to provide an improved understanding of agricultural soil carbon sequestration, so to synthesize stakeholders' view and knowledge needs, and to strengthen the international research community to prepare an IRC. So we've done a preparatory project with that, and now really we're there. So we try to really see the IRC in action. Zooming up. So what we want to do today with the official launch of the IRC, so spreading the word and highlighting the benefits of potential membership in the consortium, maybe also to use a bit from the multiplier effect here that we have on the spot and online. So learn a bit more about concretely your services that you provide, explaining a bit the governance, connecting the latest developments in EU climate policy, and last but not least, celebrate a little bit after this session that you achieved all of this. So this is just to set the scenes. So the real content, as you will realize, is coming now. So thanks a lot, Suzanne. So up to the next speaker.
Thanks a lot for your encouraging words, Ms. Rose. Now I'll leave the floor to Monsieur Jean-François Souzana, International Vice President of INRAE, winner of the Nobel Prize in 2007, and also he was also a member of the Soil mission. So Jean-François, the floor is yours to present the roadmap towards the Soil IRC. You have 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much, Suzanne, and please note this was with IPCC 250 authors, so not only me. Well, thank you so much, Kerstin, for explaining the case for an IRC, and indeed today we are celebrating, and what I would like to show to you today is how we got there, really. So it's a roadmap towards the soil carbon IRC. Next slide. We had 3 steps, really. The first one is the CIRCASA project. CIRCASA was launched before the start of the soil mission. In fact, it's interesting to note it was strongly related to the Paris Agreement on Climate, where a first action was delineated on soil carbon and how we should work together internationally. Then we had the soil mission, and this allowed to carry on CIRCASA and expand it to the non-agricultural soils, because CIRCASA was only agriculture, and that's the ORCASA project led by Suzanne. I was coordinating CIRCASA. And today we are, as you said, Kerstin, celebrating the launch of the Soil Carbon International Research Consortium that we have prepared over those years. Next slide. So CIRCASA first. It is a first step for coordinating international research cooperation, and it was on the agricultural soils, mostly the sequestration side, so increasing the soil carbon, a bit less on conserving the soil carbon. We had partners across the 5 continents with all the big players in terms of soil carbon research, really. And we could develop a number of outcomes. Next slide. You can see on the left that first we identified the knowledge gaps. We did this with 10 regional workshops. They were spread on the different continents. Also surveys in local languages, many respondents. And I don't have time to comment, but for sure for the farmers and their advisors, the socioeconomics were really the first roadblock. So I think also what has been developed about carbon farming and so on is highly relevant. Then we had a second part on defining strategic research and innovation agenda on soil carbon for the agricultural soils. And there we proceeded in 2 steps. First, we had the scientists, so we had a large scientific community, an international community, and we could explain what are the hypotheses, what are the questions we need to answer. And then on the other hand, from the stakeholder interaction, we could also expose this to the viewpoints of the stakeholders. So this led to this SRIA with 3 parts: the processes, the farm management of the soil carbon, and the barriers. And on the right, you will see that we were certainly realizing that the MRV was a huge roadblock, monitoring, reporting, verification. And with Pete Smith, we developed a concept paper showing how we could improve this, combining modeling, remote sensing, climate data, soil data, and agricultural practices data. Next slide. So ORCASA now, it's in fact much more ambitious because it's about all soil uses. It is also including the forests, including the urban areas, so many challenges which are a bit different from agriculture, really. It is a Horizon Europe project. It will last until August 2025, so we have really a key timing for the launch of the IRC because the main objective of ORCASA is launching this IRC. Next slide. So you see, it's a limited consortium because we thought it was just to produce the IRC. So we have an agency, research agency. We have ISRIC, which is about world soil information. We have some French research organizations supporting this. And we have also specialists in communications and visualization of data. On the right side, you see the regional nodes: Latin America, US, Vietnam, Africa with the FARA, the Forum for Agricultural Research in Africa, Australia with CSIRO. So already sort of coverage of different world regions. Next slide. Then what are the objectives? It is clearly to support the international agreements, as Kerstin explained. We want to benefit through this research cooperation to the stakeholders. It is clear that this huge challenge cannot be addressed by a single organization or a single country. And if you take it internationally, certainly Europe should cooperate with the other world regions to harmonize, for instance, the MRV methods, but also to have a clear understanding of what are the best practices. This should be international. We cited Africa. There is clearly a lot of need to work with all the research organizations there, the universities, and improve the way we can engage. So that's what is really this IRC. It is also with the private sector, with the companies, with the philanthropies. Next slide. And here is this roadmap. So we start with the end of CIRCASA, where we already had 370 registered stakeholders that had commitments to participate. So many universities, many research organizations, but also some big companies and some international associations or organizations like GRA, like 4/1000 and so on. Then we addressed with the start of ORCASA, the governance structure, then the mission and the vision, and also later how the different participants would work with the IRC. And now we are at this important milestone. We are, I think, extremely glad about this, to launch this International Research Consortium today. But obviously, there is still a lot of work ahead. And as you realize, we need to define the governance, the business model better. We have already some preliminary hypotheses, but still a lot of work. And to create the services of this IRC. This will be explained in the next talks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jean-François. I'll now take the mic to present the governance of the Soil Carbon IC. Next slide, please. What type of members do we want within the Soil Carbon International Research Consortium? First, research organization, researchers, but research organization, universities, national and international initiatives or programs. We've talked a lot about living labs. I think that they have to take part, and I've put them into the research part because somehow we have to learn a lot on what's going on in terms of social sciences as well. Of course, we need to have funders within the ERC, because if we want to have the ERC carrying on after the EU funding, August 2025, we need to have a business model, a business plan with funders that will bring either in kind or in cash funding, be them public funders or private funders. We mentioned philanthropies, we mentioned corporates, and of course, a lot of users are also key partners for that soil carbon RC, because they are going to tell us, well, this is the type of result, the type of information we need, and that you should carry on working on. So policymakers, of course, but farmers, landowners, foresters, and the private sectors, including also startups. Some of you may know at the moment that there are a lot of startups, especially working on monitoring, reporting and verification, on Earth observation of soil carbon incentives and so on. Next slide, please. So this is the governance that we envisage for the Soil Carbon International IRC, with as a key committee, the steering committee, with action groups. They will be acting and dedicated to steer and really launch these action groups on the 3 pillars. So the 3 services that will be described just after. Just a bit after, but also on the business model of the RC. So, of course, the Secretariat to help the day-to-day life of that steering committee, and a large General Assembly with those 3 colleges I just mentioned, having representatives within the steering committee, and the regional nodes. Jean-François mentioned the partners, the regional nodes that we already have, and we want to carry on working with that international dimension with regional nodes. Of course, the scientific committee, and in terms of not duplicating things, we have decided, at least for an interim part, to work with the scientific and technical committee from the 4PMIL initiative, which has a range of experts from all over the world. So we're not going to duplicate, we're going to work together hand in hand with 4PMIL, and an ethics committee. Next slide, please. So that's just to describe that governance with the General Assembly. We will set up an interim steering committee. It is under construction, and we hope to hold that first steering committee in the first quarter of 2024. And the first scientific committee, well, we just mentioned the COP, will take place on the 8th of December during the COP28. As a part of the 4PMIL Scientific and Technical Committee. Next slide, please. So, concerning the status and the funding of the International Research Consortium, it's not yet completely defined. It requires more research and discussion, understanding, by taking also the views, and as Jean-François showed, we are co-constructing that RC, so we want to have the input and the ideas from others in order also to develop that business model and reflection about the status. And concerning the funding, we also want to work on that, but we are convinced that we also have to work not just with public funding, maybe earmarked funding from different research agencies in the world, and also with private fundings coming either from corporates or corporate associations like WBCSD or SCI platform, and also from philanthropies. Next slide, please. So now we come to the value proposition and the services that are developed by and for the Soil Carbon International Research Consortium. So I will again leave the floor to Jean-François to share with us what we're aiming at doing in terms of research alignment and calls. That is in discussion with our funding agency, but also knowledge sharing and capacity building. There will be a video displaying what we're doing with the Impact for Soil platform that is sitting also just outside next door. And then we'll have Fanny van Egmond presenting the monitoring, reporting and verification harmonization that we're aiming at. Next slide, please. So now, Jean-François, floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Suzanne. And I think all those services are obviously connected with other initiatives. For instance, for the MRV, we know that there is a large effort from the Commission to look into the way we can certify the carbon removal. So we will certainly make sure we are compatible. I'd just like to address the first part of the services, which is more the academic part, really. It's about how can you align research internationally and increase the collaboration efforts. Next slide. So actually, that's also with support of the French research agency, which is part of the ORCASA consortium. The idea is to have a knowledge hub. And I'm not sure you're all familiar with what is a knowledge hub. It's basically a sort of consortium where you have a range of organizations. So here you would have a range of research and innovation organizations worldwide working together with support of those research agencies that are national research agencies mostly. And the way you can create this, we will see in the next slide, is also by involving some experts in the start. The other thing is that we would like to look into the thematic annual programming, and both parts are actually connected to our strategic research and innovation agenda, both for the Knowledge Hub and for the thematic annual programming. So what is thematic annual programming? Imagine you have 10 agencies, one in China, one in US, one in Europe, that do in fact calls on soil carbon. Why not join efforts? And why not create a call with possibly the same text calling from the same effort? So it could be that this is a single research call with a single monitoring and a single evaluation review committee, but it could also be that these projects, if they are from the US, they are evaluated in the US, they could be evaluated in Europe, in China, but then you can have some joint efforts across projects, and this could be in fact planned before the start of this thematic annual programming. So it's really creating a bundle of projects working together and funded through a network of agencies. So we think it is a way to align the research effort. Next slide. So the Knowledge Hub, we will have some scientists that will work with the research agencies, so a range of disciplines, a range of topics, and from public and private research organizations, and also around 40 experts, which are connected to 8 funding agencies. So far, 16 countries would like to take part in this hub. You have the list here, but it is clearly open, and we hope to have far more countries after some time. Next slide. So what about the next steps? It will be a final composition of the hub, discussed at the next ORCASA meeting. We hope the first hub meeting to be held early next year, and then the first thematic annual programming meeting also in 2024. So this is developing quite fastly right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now let's come to the video. You will see Julien Demenois from CIRAD and also Susanna Romao from Visuality. CIRAD and Visuality developed together that platform that you will see in the video.
Hello, I'm Julien Demenois, lead scientist on soil carbon at CIRAD, the French Agricultural Research and Cooperation Organization, working for the sustainable development of tropical and Mediterranean regions. It's a real pleasure and honor to take part today at the launch of the International Research Consortium on soil carbon and to share with you a few words on Impact for Soil. Impact for Soil is a dedicated worldwide knowledge platform developed by CIRAD and Visuality to address the critical challenges of soil carbon sequestration. Impact for Soil is a science-based and cooperative platform designed to meet the needs of practitioners, farmers and foresters, policymakers, founders and scientists from all over the world. We applied scientific standards to verify, gather and share trustful information. At CIRAD, we are deeply convinced that such effort will contribute to the International Research Consortium objective to align research efforts, to avoid duplication, and also to put the light on understudied regions and give science-based evidence for decision makers to let soil carbon sequestration become a reality. On behalf of CIRAD, thank you for your attention.
Hello everyone, I'm Susanna, Visuality's Project Portfolio and Partnerships Lead, and together with Julian, I am thrilled to introduce you to Impact for Soil. In the Orcasa project, we were lucky to come together with partners that share a same commitment to tap into the power of soil carbon knowledge to fight climate change. But our mission goes beyond data or technology. It's about fostering collaborations that can change the status quo. As you all know, climate action is undeniably complex, but the technology we are building in Impact for Soil simplifies it. It's a platform that is designed to empower decision-making and nurture an engaged community. So that's why it's more than just a platform. It's meant to be a transformative force. So join us in this thriving soil carbon community and stay tuned next for a brief video demonstration of the platform. And if you want to see it live, please join our team outside at the stands and see for yourself firsthand Impact for Soil in action. On behalf of Visuality, thank you.
Impact for Soil offers three main services. The first one helps connecting stakeholders on soil carbon all around the world. You will discover potential partners and build connections worldwide. You can explore organizations related to soil carbon and display their relationships. You can explore new projects related to soil carbon worldwide. You can search for projects by country or by thematic. The service will also give you the ability to promote your own project or organization. One other service offers access to geospatial data on soil carbon. Have a look to maps at a global scale. We have selected existing maps that present relevant, trustful, and interoperable information. We have also developed scientific data for the IRC at the local scale to contribute to the monitoring, reporting, and verification of soil carbon. The third service offers a clear picture on the impact of global practices on soil carbon based on a comprehensive global analysis. You will measure global practices impact such as climate change, land use change, and land management practices with data-driven graphs. Get access over 25,000 peer-reviewed publications. And you can dive into meta-analysis. New services are coming soon, such as practices and datasets. Thank you for your time, and please come and join us at the outdoor stand to discover more about impact for soil.
Well, thank you for your attention. Now I leave the floor. Now I leave the floor to Fanny van Egmond, who's a soil data and soil sensing specialist who works at ISRIC and Wageningen Research.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much. I would like to show you a little bit what we've been doing within the ORCASA project leading into the IRC. So it's pre-work that we want to continue with all of you together. So next slide, please. First, just to make the context explicit, it's been mentioned by the previous speakers as well, but we have quite a varied context, I would say. We have national inventories, we have carbon offsets programs, we have insetting programs, we have the common agricultural policies, and all of these have their own requirements and their own specificities that we need to address when we want to harmonize an MRV framework. Next slide. Obviously, as was mentioned, we did not start from scratch. There was the framework by Smith et al., also Pausjan et al. Made a framework. Several projects are also all making variants, I would say, of those same frameworks. But we identified a need to have a harmonized framework that we can all relate to, that fits with how we see MRV in a conceptual way. Next slide. And this is what we came up with so far. We divided it into a block on monitoring, a block on reporting, and a block on verification. Within each block, we identified the building blocks or components. These are words that are sometimes not used in exactly the same way. Where, for example, experiments, the long-term field experiments, the short-term field experiments, so how well do sustainable soil management practices work actually in sequestering carbon? Which soil measurement, direct soil measurements are used, what activity data, so for instance, farm management data is available, spatial data layers, all of that, or a mix of that, can go into different types of models that we want to describe. So for instance, process-based or data-driven or hybrid. And all of that information from the monitoring block should go then to the reporting block with its own rules, and then to verification, where again you need also some direct soil data and also some proof of practices. So this is the first version that we came up with. It was discussed with quite a number of people in several cafes. We also wrote a deliverable where we classified basically the MRV systems that we now know of that are most commonly used also into this framework. So please go there for more information. Next slide. And this was really just meant as pre-work. So we want to engage with you to then also in the IRC continue this work. So what I just presented was the block on the far left, the review of current MRV frameworks and the proposition for a harmonized one. And we're actually now trying to scope, an internationally agreed multi-ecosystem MRV framework. So this was, again, going from agriculture to also other land uses. And we want to develop an MRV cookbook. So first version for cropland and a prototype for a processing change. And then that should transition into the IRC where we want to also develop those building blocks and those processing chains together. There are several projects at the moment within the mission that address this. So we want to cooperate with that. Several of the partners of ORCASA are also members of those projects. So this should be a joint effort. Next week we have our annual meeting where we will discuss together. Excited to move forward. Next slide. This is just an overview of some of the workshops we had and some that we still want to have, but Suzanne will elaborate on that a little bit more. So next slide. And just to show some nice pictures, when you have a couple of organic carbon layers, these are on a world scale, on a global scale, you can play with that. So this is a project Soils Revealed where IPCC scenarios were applied on existing soil organic carbon maps to also provide some indication if you do this, then this will be the resulting carbon, and this is how the change map will look like. And the website is still online. Next slide. And this is, can you press a couple of times? Next, this has a video. This is actually the project that was also shown in the Knowledge Hub. The paper just was presented or published today, so please go and have a look, where it's a high-resolution MRV system that is using remote sensing data and a crop model for upscaling the system. Next slide. And that was a short overview.
Thank you very much, Penny. So that will make the link also with the discussion with the DG Klima and also the certification schemes and so on. So let's now come to how to get involved into the Soil Carbon International Research Consortium. You've seen and you've heard that we've had some world cafes, so interactions with the international community already, and we want to carry on that. Next slide, please. So we want to, as I said, engage with the international community. So before writing the proposal, I even had 2 workshops in September 2021 where we discussed the governance structure, and 28 countries were already participating in that in those online workshops. Then we've had a dedicated one on the international mission and vision statement, so that people do agree on that, and that again we had 11 countries participating. And last week we had 2 more where we discussed those 3 services also with partners from 25 countries, giving their thoughts on the services that have just been presented to you. And as I said, we'll have the scientific committee, steering committee, and general assembly. Next slide, please. So 35 countries as a whole participated into those workshops. Some of them, I didn't mention on that, were specifically dedicated to the MRV part, where they had already 2 big workshops. For those I mentioned, we've made modification based on the feedbacks from on the governance model, on the mission and vision statement. We identified already some knowledge gaps and funding opportunities. So some of our partners participating just have put us in contact with some funding agencies. We have some volunteers to test the platform so that the impact for soil platform that has been showed can be really used, and we want to have the feedback from the users on whether it is useful like that, if they don't understand something or if there are bugs. And we have volunteers in participating to the further development of the monitoring, reporting and verification framework and building blocks. Next slide, please. So we also have some regional nodes workshop, so and also events. So I was in end of July, early August in Brazil for the Latin America Soil Science Conference, and we had a whole morning dedicated to ORCASA and the Soil Carbon International Research Consortium, and we presented both the MRV part and also the part that was presented by Sirad about that in artificial intelligence, going deep into knowledge and publication repositories. Then we had one meeting in Africa on forest soils, and something in Vietnam as well. And during this summer, there was a big workshop dedicated to monitoring, reporting, and verification in the United States. And one of the experts of ORCASA was the only non-American partner into that. So we're very proud of that. Next slide, please. So how to join? the Soil Carbon International Research Consortium. So we have drafted a letter of interest, which is a non-legally binding document that you can sign easily. And that is on our website. So if you go to our platform, IRC, orcasa.eu, join the Soil Carbon IRC, and then you just have to click on the mouse, and then you can get to that letter and sign and come with us within that adventure. Next slide, please. Just to show you that we have only launched that letter of interest 3 weeks ago, when we have already a number of respondents, and of course more are to come. Next slide. And now what I would like to show is that we already have an international dimension, and that we have supporters for the Soil Carbon International Research Consortium. And now let's start the next video, and you will hear from them. Thank you.
The main challenge that we are facing in terms of selling or putting soil organic carbon high in the global agenda is the fact that there are still many uncertainties in the permanence of soil organic carbon, and also on the impact and benefits, on the cost-benefit analysis of investing in soil health and sustainable soil management. So I think this is the role that the consortium should play, really bring the data on the cost-benefit analysis for sustainable soil management and enhancing soil organic carbon.
It is important to join the Soil Carbon International Research Consortium. For us scientists is to provide scientific basis and also to connect between the science and practitioners, so that we can translate our science into real-world applications.
Definitely contribute to knowledge sharing, because it brings together experts from all around the world that have the knowledge, and in an environment where they can share it and exchange it and synthesize it.
The International Soil Research Consortium can contribute to research alignment and the calls through facilitating the interaction between the scientists and the donor community, to exchange information, to build knowledge within the donor community of where the international soil research community is, and where the cutting edge is, and what the key questions are that need to be answered.
The consortium plays a critical role in developing guidelines for harmonizing tools, methods, and models. MRV is very important to be able to be agreed upon. And once the harmonization procedure is established by the scientific community, then food companies, NGOs, governments, and producers could use it as the system to go by in assessing soil carbon changes over space and time.
I think the collaborative initiatives that need to be developed within the International Research Consortium are several, but I think key in them is underrepresented soils, so urban and forest soils, and I think key also will be land use change and the biology, the physics, and the chemistry of land use change. The biogeochemistry of land use change is going to be important.
Well, InVivo could contribute to Soil Carbon IRC by sharing the experience we have with helping farmers transitioning from conventional agriculture to low carbon regenerative agriculture. And how do we work with them to solve technical issues, agronomic issues, but also economic issues. Another way to share the experience we have is to share the experience we have in developing digital tools to do the monitoring, report, and verification of the climate impact of these transitions.
The 4 initiative is an international multi-stakeholder partnership, and this nature allows us to be the base for the cooperation between the scientific world and the policymaker. And we hope that we will be able to make this liaison between the policy world on one side and the scientific world on the other side. This interface will be our contribution to that very important work.
The Global Soil Partnership is a voluntary partnership open to all the different stakeholders. And what we want to do is really be the network of networks. So bringing all the relevant actors into the same discussion and to make like the bridge between science and policy. So that's why it's so important that the Global Soil Partnership and the Soil Carbon International Research Consortium work together to bring all this evidence to the policymakers and to governments for informed decision making.
We're just a small organisation, just a university in the north of Scotland, but we do a lot of work on soil carbon, so I'm hoping that we can contribute positively to and share our knowledge and our research projects and join in with others.
Well, so we've done our best for that film. Anyway, now I leave the floor to Christian Holzleitner, from Head of Unit responsible for land economy and carbon removals at the European Commission Directorate-General for Climate Action. The floor is yours. Next slide, please.
Thanks so much, Suzanne. Good afternoon. We have one big objective in European climate policy, and this is to make Europe climate neutral by 2050. So this means, as from 2050, we shouldn't add any more CO2 to the atmosphere, on balance. And the agriculture sector, the forestry sector, will have a key role to play there, because you can reduce emissions, and we need to reduce emissions from agriculture. But our soils, forests, and the products we produce out of them can also store carbon. They can actively take CO2 out of the atmosphere. So you have these two things that you can do here. And how can we achieve that? This is by empowering our farmers and foresters to take control of that greenhouse gas emissions and removals, to take control of this balance. This is the first step. And thankfully, we have now all the digital solutions, the artificial intelligence, to provide this at low costs to farmers and foresters. So for us, monitoring, reporting, verification is the first necessary step to get this transition going. And so I can only congratulate Jean-François, Susanna, on also having MRV at the heart of their international initiative. So we are fully aligned on that, because our first step is also working on a certification framework. So to be able to quantify how many emissions is a farmer reducing, how much additional carbon is stored, for how long is this carbon stored, is it additional, is it sustainable? So to take really a holistic view, what we've discussed so much also during the day. And then once we have that done in a credible way, we can think about financial incentives from the private side, from the public side. But it should be based on the same monitoring, reporting, and verification rules. We are doing the job for Europe, but of course, all the international food companies are interested in their international value chain. So this work that you've been presented here, that's starting here, is such a good complement to what we are doing in Europe. because we should manage to have the same standards. Like maybe in the same way as we've managed for biofuels. The sustainability criteria that we developed in Europe are now applied worldwide. So, but before you join this initiative, maybe you want also to join our expert group and provide input to the development first of the European standard on carbon farming. We are working with the European Parliament and the Council to finish the framework, and just today the European Parliament endorsed the framework with a very large majority, so their position, about 2/3, I think more than 2/3 of the members like what we are proposing here. And then we think that we can finish the work on the framework, so that the legal framework in place by January, February. And then we really want to work on the individual methodologies, on the MRV, like for rewetting of peatlands, for mineral soils, for agroforestry, and so on. And for this, of course, we want to have your valuable input. And one way how we hope to get that is for a project that we are funding, the Credible project. Tristano and Ricardo are here, and they are organizing, beginning of March in Valencia, the first carbon farming summit, where we hope that we can aggregate all the knowledge that we have from the different carbon farming projects all over Europe, so that we can really develop the world's best standard for carbon farming, that then hopefully we can also test with all the international scientists in the Orcaso project in here, and we can quite quickly move forward to have a stable monitoring, reporting, verification framework for soils, for forests worldwide. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dominique. So please, Jean-François, can you come to wrap up and finish the conference? Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you so much, Christian. Thank you so much, Kerstin. We are really with the strong support of DG AGRI, of DG Klima. Thank you for this. And we have this really, we are nested in the mission, and therefore we can do a lot. And this is well understood by our international partners. I think, Kerstin, you explained all you are doing with the Commission to contact the international partners, so they are well aware. And with this, I think we will be able to make rapid progress. There's hardly any doubt that this topic is extremely timely and attracts a lot of attention, a lot of money, I should say, of funding. When you travel through the US and meet your colleagues, you realize that some of the philanthropies would like to invest really dozens of millions of USD in this, because they trust it will create a big impact. And the big companies, it's quite the same. They are really looking in large investment plans. So all what we can do together in Europe, and that's why we really need you all to join this IRC, is going to be, I think, an alternative also to some things which may, in fact, become internationally dominated by large investments. And we would like to make it far more cooperative and to make it also workable for the small farmers and respecting the land rights, the human rights. So it is also why it is so important that Europe is able to define a framework that can be shared and co-constructed, co-designed with everybody worldwide. Thank you so much, and I think we can conclude here. Yeah.
Okay, lovely. Thank you so much, Jean-Paul. Thank you. Suzanne, thank you so much. Thank you. So lovely to hear all your international voices as well that you had gathered together. Thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, we have not finished today's conference at all. We still have a lot more to come. Let's just move the slide on once more, if we can, because what I would like to do is actually show you what we have coming up tomorrow. Lovely, thank you very much. So, we are starting tomorrow with registration at 9 o'clock, starting promptly at 9:30. And if you are joining us online, do join us again tomorrow as well. 9:30, everything will kick off in here. We'll hear from PREPSOIL, the PREPSOIL project. Incidentally, I said earlier that the different projects were having their times outside. Of course, Orcasa is out there today. So if you want to join to the IRC, that's where go and speak to Suzanne. She'll be there after this session finishes, and she can, I was going to say convince you, but I don't think there is any convincing left to do. So they are outside. PREPSOIL we'll hear from tomorrow. Then we have the different breakouts tomorrow. We'll hear from them. And we've been international this afternoon. Tomorrow you will see we will go regional and local as well. We'll talk about the mission manifesto and also the mission ambassadors. And as if by magic, the chairs have gone. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we are now moving on to the final section of today. Very pleased to say we have the awards ceremony for the photo competition. Now, I don't know whether you have dived into the green bag that you've been given yet. Have you seen your lovely calendar? Yes, isn't it absolutely wonderful? The calendar with the 12 photographs in it from the Mission Soil competition that you've been looking at outside. They've all been put into a fabulous calendar. So for all of next year, you can be reminded of your time here in Madrid. But of course, there are 12 wonderful photographs, but there are 3 that we would like to particularly highlight. So it is the photo competition awards ceremony time. And to help me with this, I'd like to introduce 2 people to come and join me now. First of all, the Director of Quality Policy, Research and Innovation Outreach at the European Commission at DG AGRI, Diego Cangofano. Would you like to come and join me? Thank you very much. Thank you. And also joining us, the Director of Collaborative Projects at Gold Standard Diagnostics, former member of the Mission Soil Board, Carmen Vela Olmo. Would you like to come and join us, Carmen? Lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Wonderful. Diego, why did you want to do a photo competition? Oh, please do. Yes, absolutely. And I'll give you number 1, Carmen. There we go.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me say how nice it is for me to be here today in Spain, my home country. Let me first of all congratulate my team, my DG AGRI team. I'm really impressed to see all this crowd over here. So I have to compliment my team in public, Kerstin and the others. Well done, well done. I will reply to your question. The Mission Soil Fall competition was organized to raise awareness about the importance as well as the beauty of soils. And if we want to scale up sustainable land management practices, we need to increase the general awareness. And we thought that, well, we step on soil every day, but rarely we stop to think how vital soils are for our lives. And therefore, we thought that we should use art. We should use art to promote the work we have here. And in history, art and artists often played a crucial role in transforming our society. And that's why we created this competition. One of the building blocks of the Soil mission is to increase soil literacy and citizen engagement. And linked to this is a photo competition that leads to a photo exhibition in a way to first involve professional and amateur photographers, and second, to engage with a broader public that can appreciate an art and soil at the same time. So photography is powerful. It tells a story without using words, and we thought it was good. Let me say it's the first time we organized such a competition, but it was so successful that we're thinking to do it once again.
Do you want me to? Are you
No,
all right?
it's okay. And so if
Could you keep your microphone a bit closer?
Sorry.
Lovely.
So we have had more than 50 applicants, if I'm well informed, and there are 12 winners. And considering the success, we are thinking about continuing in the next few years. So let me conclude saying, so in the Mission Soil, we're starting to consistently mobilize artists and cultural creative industries for the protection and restoration of soils. And again, it's a way to raise awareness, and I'm looking forward to see the pictures and congratulate the winners.
Absolutely, yes. It certainly is a way to raise awareness, but you can raise awareness in lots of different ways. So Carmen, why art? What role can art play there, do you think?
Well, let me say first, I am extremely happy to be in contact again with the mission, with the soil mission. I was member of the board, and I already separate for other more clever and interested people can implement. Okay, one of the difference of the mission regarding other European projects is the concept of citizen engagement. So we need to look for all the possibilities to involve people, to involve society in our research. So I think that art and science, have the same background. We like, for us, there are no walls. Well, sometimes the walls are very high, but theoretically, there are no walls. We are not afraid, scientists and artists, to go for the unknown. We decide to work with effort, with interest, with enthusiasm, perseverance, and sometimes with passion, And I think that there are extraordinary examples of artists that are scientists or scientists that are artists. We can go for Leonardo da Vinci, just a little bit closer, Einstein, and how not our Ramon y Cajal, our neurologist, Nobel Prize, that he was really enthusiastic for his neurological science, but also for drawing. I don't know if you have the opportunity to show their drawings, for painting, and for photographing our people. So it's a different way to see the same problem with a different approach, and for people that really don't have not any scientific knowledge, they can have the feeling. They can be close to the soil. They can address the problem. They will be happy to contribute to solve this problem. I think that this is an extraordinary combination.
I think that sums it up so beautifully, that if you don't have the scientific knowledge, doesn't mean to say you don't have the passion. We have our artist right now, look at this, exactly telling stories through art and putting the science in there as well. Diego, we can see them behind you, but tell us about the prize, because this is not your normal type of trophy that you're going for here.
True. So for 9 winners, we have decided to provide a gardening kit. Fair enough. But for 3 winners, here you are. For the 3 main winners, we've chosen something linked to innovation as we worked on every day. They will receive a phone loudspeaker called Via Cube, made of wood, a combination of nature, handicraft, and technology. But there's a history behind the name, and that's what I'm going to explain. Via is the name of a storm that hit the Dolomites in the northeast of Italy at the end of October 2018. And in a few hours, 42 million trees fell due to the force of the wind that reached 200 kilometers per hour and the devastating rain. And so something tangible of climate change. And 3 young men decided immediately to act and transform the wood of the fallen trees into an object that brings together design, sustainability, and functionality. In addition, this small company is also supporting the plantation of trees to create new forests in the Dolomites and to protect against further soil erosion. So by choosing this particular prize, we wanted to contribute to sustainable recovery, both for the environment and support the local economy, while highlighting innovative ways to respond always to climate change. So very beautiful idea.
What a lovely idea. Absolutely fantastic idea. So I think we need to find out who the 3 winners are. You have 3 of the speakers behind you, 3 winners. So should we do this, Diego? Would you like to introduce our first winner, and we can see? Shall I come and hold the microphone for you while you find it?
I found it.
Okay, lovely.
It's a
You've
person
got yours as well. Fantastic.
from Poland called Dominika Kostwocka.
Dominika, congratulations. Come and join us. It's an absolutely beautiful photograph. Now, I'm going to just pause for a moment while we actually take some photographs to remember the moment for you. Lovely, thank you. Before you leave, Dominika, let me just come and grab a microphone. All right, okay, lovely. Tell me about your photograph. Absolutely beautiful. What was the inspiration?
Firstly, thank you very much for this award. It's a great honor for me. Sorry, my English is not good, but I will try to say a few words. For me, soil is life. It's home to many microorganisms and make plants life possible. I think that the soil is treasure under our feet. In the photo, I want to capture this treasure and its beauty, and want to show the beautiful contrast between the green of the plants and brown of the soil. Thank you very much, NK, and congratulations to all winners.
Dominika, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely beautiful. And of course, you get your calendar as well with your award-winning photograph. Carmen, are you ready for our second winner?
Yes, I am. From Spain, Sergio Ibáñez Pascual, who will win for the photo Flowering Vineyard Soil.
Absolutely beautiful photograph, and taking some photos there for you with your picture behind. Many congratulations, Sergio. Well done. Beautiful, beautiful picture. Tell me the inspiration behind that.
Well, for me, the soil is the layer that gives us support, and definitely the support of our life. In this picture, I can see a vineyard in La Rioja, Spain, and in our Mediterranean area in Spain, the soil is tilled. And I suggest with this image, I suggest the use of cover crops as soil management system to improve the quality of the soil, promote the biodiversity, and it's a way to preserve our soils from erosion and runoff. I think that is a good alternative for our vineyards and wine growers.
It's absolutely beautiful. Lovely, lovely winning photograph. Flowering vineyard soil. Sergio, thank you so much. Thank you. So one more to go. Carmen, is this you again? Fantastic. Our third and final winner?
First of all, sorry for the pronunciation. From Croatia, Bosidar Grosic, or something like that.
Congratulations. With an incredibly atmospheric photograph, just superb. I think probably very clear what your inspiration was, but tell us what you were trying to convey and what you were thinking.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me here. I'm really happy and grateful to be here among all of your experts. I'm truly happy, and this is the way I capture this image, so I'll try to explain it. Well, the situation that I've encountered here was after some climate devastation, after the big flood, which encountered many countries along the river Sava. And after this environmental event, I went there and captured this I should say, land which is in a fragile and weak state. And I believe that this image speaks in a direct way that this soil, this land, also yearn for our attention to be able to, recover you know, from these devastation moments and be able to host a new life again. That's it.
Absolutely. As you say, desperate for life. Bozidar, thank you so much for your photograph and many congratulations. Well done.
Thank you.
And many, many congratulations to everyone who took the photographs and put them, and they will now be in the calendars. So not just our 3 winners there, but everybody. I would love to know whether you had a favourite, but maybe I shouldn't ask. Would that be very... Both of them looked at me, no, don't ask. I don't want to single one out. Absolutely stunning. And there they all are. And ladies and gentlemen, remember, they are all in your calendars. So you can keep that on your desk or maybe in your kitchen looking out towards the soils and to remind you of what we have. Diego and Carmen, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you. Absolutely stunning, and of course you can see the large versions of them outside. We're talking about art, and of course we've had our own artist. Coletta has been drawing as we've gone through the day. I love that, the character at the top saying passion, interest, enthusiasm, and she's even started to draw the pictures as well. Carletta will be with us tomorrow, going through and visualising the whole of the day as we go through. So a very, very busy session tomorrow. Remember, it starts with registration at 9 o'clock. Your badges are still good for tomorrow, but please, may I ask you that you come and register again tomorrow morning at 9, just so that we know who has been here. So if you do need to register again tomorrow at 9, and then the sessions start at 9:30. There you go. Lots and lots to get through tomorrow. I hope you agree this has been an enlightening and inspiring first day. We suggest it might be quite nice if you would like to meet your fellow delegates over some cocktails outside. So we have time now for some cocktails and networking, and we will see you back here at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're here in the room, if you're joining us online, thank you very much for your attention today. Thank you.